This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Bonjour mes loulous, je vous souhaite le coucou. Au moins on aura vu l'intro que j'avais malencontreusement zappé la dernière fois. Du coup voilà, c'est fait. La dernière fois, ce que j'ai aussi zappé de faire, enfin c'est plus un accident qu'autre chose, c'était de sauvegarder. Voilà, donc du coup, problème, je reprends depuis le début, mais sans voilà tout ce que j'avais fait avant. Alors vous savez, je crois qu'il y a un succès.
I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Vous voyez comme prenez pour un con. Apparemment, il y a un succès qu'on peut débloquer en appuyant là-dessus.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause.
Ah, c'est scandaleux. C'est scandaleux.
Yes, almost certainly.
C'est tout à fait scandaleux. Apparemment, ouais, c'est la porte 430 qui débloque ce truc-là.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort.
Je crois que genre, il faut appuyer 100 fois dessus, quoi.
I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost.
Oui,
Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Non. On essaie juste de me déstabiliser. Ah, il est bien ce son de clic incessant, ça me fait plaisir. Voilà, bon bonjour à tous, hein, on est toujours sur The Stanley Parable, pardon, deuxième épisode, et voilà, je crois que ça a pas mal plu au début. Je pense que c'était une bonne idée de faire une série là-dessus, sur cette espèce de grand foutoir complètement psychédélique, et tout à fait méta. Et donc voilà, comme je vous l'ai dit, j'ai pas sauvegardé ce que j'avais fait avant malencontreusement, donc c'est pas très grave, hein, on va dire que ce sera juste pas pris en compte. Ça me permettra de faire de nouveaux choix aujourd'hui et de découvrir de nouvelles choses, et puis cette fois-ci je sauvegarderai régulièrement. Alors si ça se trouve je me plante complètement, je ne sais pas s'il y a un succès réellement. Toujours est-il que je ne me cautionne que très peu de faire ça. Mais là si j'arrête maintenant j'aurai toujours l'impression de m'être arrêté à 99 sur 100 on va dire. Et c'est parfaitement frustrant. Du coup qu'est-ce que je dois faire? Comment je dois réagir? Il m'a dit d'aller appuyer 20 fois sur la porte 417. Je peux aller faire ça? Hein? Allez. On va dire que je vais aller faire ça, je pense. Allez, go. 410, mais il n'y en a pas en plus de 417. Oh, bon sang. Je viens de débloquer un succès qui s'appelle You Can't Jump. Parce que j'ai essayé d'appuyer sur espace pour sauter. Et on m'a dit que c'est pas possible.
Oh, Great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Et le pire, c'est qu'on me prend pour un petit animal de compagnie et j'y vais. J'y vais et c'est peut-être ça le plus beau. 437, je crois qu'il a dit. Elle est où? Je me dis, si ça se trouve, ça débloque un truc, j'en sais rien. Alors on va être con à bouffer du foin, on va le faire et puis voilà. 136, 37.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
Mais en plus, je le sais, hein, qu'il se fout de ma gueule. Attention, rassurons-nous. Je le sais, mais alors pertinemment.
Now, back to door number 437.
Ah là 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 là. Ça va vite être énervant, cette histoire. Pour vous, hein, j'entends, parce que moi je m'éclate. Je m'éclate à voir ce que le jeu a prévu.
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine?
Elle est où? Elle est où la photocopieuse? Elle est où la photocopieuse? Ah là là. Ah là là. Ah! Bon, ben on avance au moins, hein. Vous remarquerez que l'avantage c'est vraiment de ne pas perdre son temps. C'est là que c'est prodigieux, c'est que...
When Stanley came to
Ah,
a set of
connard.
2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Allez, cette fois-ci on le fait, d'accord?
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Ok, donc là on rejoint quelque chose que j'avais vu déjà.
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his
Du coup, est-ce que
boss's
j'essaie de
office.
descendre cette fois-ci? Allez, j'essaie de descendre.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
C'est pas une photocopieuse, ça?
What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Ok.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words
continue mon tour de France, hein.
to Stanley. After all, He knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? And this voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back,
Oh là là, mais c'est génial.
the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let
Et
me
on va revenir au
continue
début, j'en
pushing
suis
the
sûr.
buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
C'est complètement
I
de la ASMR, un truc.
am okay.
Ah, bien joué. Bien joué.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up.
Oh,
My
putain.
name is Stanley. I have a boss, I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything
Oh là
went
là là.
black.
Oh putain, mais qu'est-ce que c'est? Mais qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est de la folie pure ce jeu, c'est génial.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed,
Putain, mais-
gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Putain, c'est très perturbant. Ça tourne beaucoup autour du monde du travail, j'ai l'impression. Enfin, je pense qu'il y a clairement une remise en question de cet univers-là. Ok, donc voilà, back to the beginning. Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette
How
porte?
wonderful. Stanley wasn't... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times.
Okay.
Is that all that you think an
Ah, mais elle
achievement
était là, la
is worth?
photocopieuse.
No. I can't
Bon, je vais
just
pas
give
refaire
these
tout le
rights away
cirque,
for
hein, je
such
vous rassure.
little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Hop,
he entered the
on
door
suit
on
celle
his
de
left.
gauche. Et on va essayer de suivre pour l'instant un petit peu ce qu'on nous demande de faire.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Je m'attends à ce que le jeu ne récompense pas forcément notre bonne conduite, notre assiduité, en se foutant de notre gueule, en disant mais vous aviez des choix, pourquoi vous n'avez pas fait autre chose, pourquoi vous suivez bêtement ce qu'on vous demande de faire. Je m'y attends en fait. Hein.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known
Pourquoi
was
est-ce qu'il y a
that
un
the
point blanc
keypad
là?
behind the
Ah non, il a
boss's
toujours
desk
été là.
guarded the
Il
terrible
disparaît des
truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
C'était ça.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Alors je vais pas prendre la voie escape qu'on me proposera, hein, justement pour essayer de coller avec le chemin. Alors je vais peut-être pas le suivre jusqu'au bout, hein. Dès que j'aurai des libertés à prendre je les prendrai, sauf que bon ben là, on les a déjà vues celles-ci. Mais putain qu'est-ce que c'est bon, mais qu'est-ce que c'est bien, qu'est-ce que j'aime, je sais pas, voir, me faire manipuler de cette manière-là, ça me plaît. Voilà, il y a peut-être un petit côté maso, mais j'aime beaucoup voir à quel point ces gens sont brillants.
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Donc tout ça on avait vu, me semble-t-il.
Stanley walked
Oui,
straight
voilà,
ahead through the large door that read
pas
Mind
d'escape.
Control Facility.
Voilà, là je découvre complètement avec vous aussi.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed
C'est les
with
écrans.
television
On était là-haut
screens.
tout à l'heure. Enfin
What
avant.
horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Excellente question. Excellente question. Est-ce que c'est pour ça que c'était un spoil l'autre jour de tomber sur ce truc-là, sur cette pièce? Parce que genre je voyais des choses que j'étais pas supposé voir.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
Moi j'étais quoi déjà,
Each bore the
427?
number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers, the lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Continue du coup. 427, je suis là. Je suis juste là. C'est mon bureau. Ok. Bon ben on va continuer du coup, on avance. Là-bas c'est quoi ce petit bouton?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe it couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
On peut sauter ici.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's
tellement
control?
ironique.
Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que cet endroit? Certes, on va démanteler le tout, hein, mais putain comme c'est étrange. Pourtant tout a l'air déjà hors d'état en plus. Bref. Ok. Oh là 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 là. C'est terriblement intéressant.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this
Et allez,
horrible
encore un
place
choix.
and to
Bon, bah, évidemment, on va pas le
everything it
faire.
stood for. Oh, Stanley, You didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
Bien sûr que non.
How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're
Évidemment, les
going.
portes se
What all this
ferment.
means, I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left.
Oh là
But I'm
là, le
enjoying
con,
this so
putain.
much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on
Oh putain, il joue avec mes nerfs, ce con là.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off?
Putain,
I mean,
il se joue de moi comme c'est pas
running from
permis.
button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every
C'est
little thing in
incroyable.
this room.
C'est tellement brillant, bordel.
No, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
Ça remet en question tellement de choses, je trouve.
You're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life?
Ah putain, c'est dégueulasse.
Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever up.
Ah, les cons de cons. Ah, il n'y a pas de temps de chargement. Qu'est-ce que ça signifie? Si, ok, d'accord, merci. Bon. Bon. Allez, c'est reparti.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started. And if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Il est de plus en plus acide, j'ai l'impression.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
allez, on va
he entered the
continuer.
door on his left.
On va aller cette fois-ci désactiver le système. D'ailleurs, on va faire une petite ellipse pour que vous ne retapiez pas tout ça, parce que mine de rien, ça prend du temps. Donc, allez hop, ellipse et à tout de suite.
To his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator
Putain, mais oui, bravo, bravo.
Kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Putain, mais qu'est-ce que c'est con, mais qu'est-ce que c'est con. Oh, c'est du génie pur.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward.
Ah là 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 là, je me sens vraiment apaisé en plus, c'est beau. Merci, narrateur. Oh, quel putain de génie. J'adore ce jeu. J'adore ce jeu. C'est brillant, vraiment. C'est tellement... Oh, c'est ouais, brillant, j'ai pas de mots, tant pis. Tant pis, c'est pas grave. J'espère que vous appréciez en tout cas de votre côté. Moi voilà. Je vis une expérience assez formidable personnellement.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read
Escape, on a vu, on a dit. Blablabla. Bon allez, hop, ellipse.
Never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Voilà. Non, non, ça peut pas être une fin. Ok, donc je vois que je peux me déplacer parce que je voyais du décor.
And a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Dans une petite pièce.
Yes. He had
Oh là
won.
là 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 là.
He had defeated the machine.
Bien sûr que non.
Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
Trop
Where
facile.
had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open
Mon
door.
cul, j'y arriverai jamais. C'est sûr et certain que je n'arriverai jamais à foutre un putain de pied dehors.
Stanley felt the cool
Ah bah si.
breeze upon his skin, the feeling of
C'est de la
liberation,
cinématique.
the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Ok. D'accord, beat the game. Je viens de débloquer un succès. On a cassé le jeu. Très bien. Mais ça ne va pas se passer comme ça, à mon avis. À mon avis, si vous voulez mon petit avis. Hein, non, ça ne se passera pas de cette manière. Je vais sauvegarder quand même vite fait. Vraiment, je sauvegarder là. Ah oui, bah oui, c'est bon.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Ok, qu'est-ce que ça
What did it
signifie,
mean?
putain de fille?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ok, bon, on va continuer à explorer un petit peu toute cette histoire.
When Stanley came to a set of two
On va
open
réessayer à
doors,
droite,
he
tiens.
entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Je l'avais prise ou pas? Je sais plus.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead
J'avais
to
pris
the
ça.
opposite
Je vais
door,
continuer.
and got back on track.
Ah, c'est la salle de réunion. Ok. Ok.
Yet there
Oh,
was
gna
not a
gna gna,
single
y a
person
personne non
here
plus.
either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his
On va
boss's
essayer
office.
ici, même si je crois que j'avais déjà tout vu. Non, j'étais passé par cette porte. Je vais donc continuer. D'accord, il n'y a rien ici. Il se passe rien, il se passe rien. Neither. Fire. Ok.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be
Blablabla, ouais, bon, ça va être la phase du rêve ici,
and in
un
such a
peu longue.
competitive economy, why had he taken that risk?
Enfin,
All
un peu longue,
because
je
he
comprends,
believed
puisqu'on l'a déjà vu.
everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy.
Blablabla.
And then something occurred to
ça peut pas non
Stanley.
plus.
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe
Bon, ok,
I
bon,
am
bah écoutez, je crois
crazy.
qu'on a fait plus ou moins le
All
tour
of
pour
my
l'instant. Je vais me
coworkers
renseigner, voir
thinking
s'il y a d'autres choses à
mysteriously
faire.
out of existence in a single
Sur ce, donc c'est la fin de ce deuxième épisode.
None of it made any logical
Je vous
sense.
souhaite de bien belles choses. Et puis bah, portez-vous bien mes petits lapins, n'oubliez pas de bombarder de pouces bleus autant que possible, hein, de partager autant que possible aussi, c'est ça qui aide, je le rappelle. Voilà, puis si c'est pas déjà fait, n'hésitez pas à vous abonner, ça fait toujours plaisir. Voilà, voilà, bon bah écoutez, ma voix est un peu partie en couille, c'était bien. Je vous souhaite de bien belles choses, donc comme je l'ai dit, portez-vous bien, et puis on se dit à dans la semaine ou à la semaine prochaine, je ne sais pas, on verra. Bref, bien, bah écoutez, amusez-vous bien, et puis que le cul vous pèle surtout, c'est très important. Allez, ciao ciao tout le monde.